Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds. We're gonna split in this video, and welcome back to the nuke follow along. So there's the queen right there. I went ahead and took the liberty of finding her without you all because sometimes that can be a long experience, and I like to keep this video as concise as possible because there's gonna be a lot of stuff to it, and I want to get you the most important parts. Everybody knows you need to make sure you don't pull the queen out in a split, so I am going to take this fine queen who is still laying some really nice bit of brood and put her in this jester nuke box right here out of the way, so we are in good shape. Now, some of you are like, well, Kamon, I'm not sure I can find my queen. What am I going to do about this? Well, what you can do, you have two deep boxes like this. You can pick out the frames that you want for the split, and you can put them in the top box. And then before you put that top box back onto the second, you got to shake all the bees off of it down into the bottom box. Put an excluder, stick that second box with everything you want back on it, and then come back 30 minutes. You know, some people just smoke through the entrance and push the bees up, but what we're wanting is to keep that queen down below without having to find her. And this is used by commercial beekeepers, small-scale beekeepers. It works very well. A queen excluder can be more than just for helping keep the queen out of your honey sweepers. So that works really nice, but I prefer to do this when possible. There's less shaking and stuff like that, and that's part of the reason I mark the queens, is I like to know the age and I like to be able to find them easily. So this is what I want to see, and this is, before we get started on the split, I want to give some context here. Everybody's in a different location. That makes a big difference. It is the beginning of the worst time of the year in Tennessee for most of us in the state. There's still some variables within the state. I don't have very much pollen coming in. We have almost zero nectar coming in, and won't until goldenrod and wingstem. When we make our splits in late March and April and May, it's so much easier. The bees aren't as aggressive. There's not robbing stressors going on. There's not nutritional stress. Everything is more difficult during a dearth period. And it's hard to fix bees that take a hit, either from a mistake the beekeeper did, a mistake sometimes the bees do, making a swarm at the wrong time of the year, and they do that. Or the beekeeper not realizing, hey, this colony didn't make enough food, or I pulled too much from it, or whatever. And then that colony in the dearth period takes a big hit because they're like, oh, we don't have enough food, and they cannibalize their brood, they slow down. And instead of having what you'd like to see, I'm interrupting myself, this is a passion of mine. What you'd like to see is a strong colony go through your spring, and it builds up to its peak, and it builds up all these reserves of honey, the reserves of bee bread, which are arguably, to me, more important. And then it just hits that peak, and in the 2 to 3 months of our dearth, which some people may not even ever experience, that natural decline should be kind of like this, going to fall. Fall flow hits, bounce back up to create those winter bees, and then declines down with no brood. Those of you who are way up north, you don't get that big drop off in summer because you don't have long periods of dearth. That makes a big difference. And for us who are in the deep south or places of dearth, poor performing areas, this is critical information. You cannot let little splits like this take a hit, and we can't let any of our colonies afford to take a hit if we want to have high chances of success, and that's what we all want. So, to the split we go. Now, what I'm looking for is capped brood. I don't want this new split to have to do a lot of work. It takes so many feedings just to take care of one larva, and we don't want that. So, what we do want to give them is 2 good frames of brood, and definitely plenty of food. Like I said, they never once should feel any stress. And introducing a queen during a dearth is also more difficult. And so we don't want any stress during that period as well, so that there's no issues with accepting the queen. So what I'm seeing here is we have a little bit of bee bread down in here. We have our honey on the sides. We have some eggs and larvae, and we have emerging brood up into here. And it's okay to give them a frame like this. I prefer 2 really good capped frames, but this will work, or we could just shake these bees off right here. This is mostly uncapped, so I'm gonna make a 2 brood frame split for this little nuke. This is a good frame right here. Lots of capped brood, and in really good shape. This is what we're going to take. And someone's going to mention all these cups at the bottom. You know, there's nothing in those. They're just there. All right. So that's one. Now, all of the older forager bees are going to fly back to this location. This is actually what we want. Old bees are the ones that are the hardest to convince that this new queen is a good thing. And they will be the first ones to do damage to her. So I prefer all the forager bees to go back to this colony anyways, where they already have a queen that they love and accept, and all that jazz. And the bees are a lot more chippy this time of the year. Can you see a few of them flying around my face? That is normal for this time of the year to have a lot more aggressive behavior from our bees. So now this is mostly just a food frame. Yeah, it's just food. We're gonna throw this one in there. This one will go towards the edge. And that box right there, I mean, it made me grunt pulling it off. This thing has probably around 8 frames of sugar syrup or honey. That's exactly what I would like to see out of a colony like this. This frame is mostly drawn. We'll give them this one as well. And so I'll have to organize this here in a little bit. We're gonna go food. Get out of here. Oh well. And then I'm gonna stick this foundation off here to the edge. Once the queen's accepted, we might rotate those foundations in closer to the brood, but right now I don't want anything messing up with the dynamics of accepting that queen and having good food contact as well. So we're going to put this frame of food up against this foundation, and now I want another good frame of brood and at least 1 shake of bees. That's very critical, again, because the forager bees go back, and in early spring, one of the #1 mistakes people make is not allowing for that drip to go back, not enough to keep them warm, brood chills. This time of the year, it might be the opposite. You might need a lot of bees to get out there and fan and keep this colony cool and defend it from robbers. So this is a good frame of bees. You see all the foragers just whoop, right back over into here. But any of those young bees that were feeding this larvae, they are going to be perfect for helping to feed this colony right here. This is my favorite part of beekeeping though. I love making splits so much and seeing new queens just do so well. All right, here's a beautiful frame. This is what I'm looking for right here. So lots of capped brood. Oh, beautiful pattern right there. This is what we're looking for. So we're just gonna take this. Young colonies definitely don't be checkerboarding stuff in and out of them, foundations in between to help them get it drawn. All I'm concerned about is getting that queen laying and accepted. Now those 2 frames right there, that's a lot of brood. This is going to grow quite rapidly, especially if we put a good queen in there. So speaking of which, the lady herself, a beautiful black queen. This one actually comes from Vermont, and I'm excited to put her in here. All right, so this is a 6-frame nuke. I've got several of these now from Miller Bee Supply. I really like them because once they get established, I want to put a frame feeder over into here, and I can sell my 5-frame nukes to people. 5 frames of bees over here, frame feeder, and I really prefer a frame feeding system. It's a lot faster than the jars. Now, if I was just doing a few colonies, jars are perfect. Cheap, a lot of us already have them, but I'm going to use a jar in this one because new splits like this, whether it's a package, a swarm you just caught, when bees are kind of confused and filled misplaced, they drown in feeders a lot better. I don't know why that is. Maybe the pheromones are out of whack, and who knows why, but after you wait a week or so, they go to the frame feeders just perfectly. So I am going to take this cork out right here. We're not going to check this colony for over a week. Well, come on now. Usually I have a little finer pick for this. All right. Well, Jiminy Christmas. We may just have to get something else for this. Get over here. I'm gonna have my way here in a second. There we go. So leave the candy in. Don't rush. There's no reason to rush. Let them eat through that candy slowly. The nice thing is, all the old grumpy bees will be out of here. We'll be feeding these bees. And I am just going to put that down right in between those frames of brood. They can get up underneath that cage. I like the 6-frame boxes because they're a little bit fatter too, to accommodate the frame feeder. When I was talking to Miller Bee Supply about making these, they were really super awesome about actually getting all the details that I wanted just right, and so these work really good for a lot of different applications. Okie doke, so the queen's in there. I've shook a little bit of bees in there. I think I'm going to go ahead and shake a hair a bit more. All right, so this colony, we've set it back a pretty decent bit, but there's plenty of brood here. There's a little bit of brood up in the top box. There's brood on this frame. The queen's on a good brood frame. This colony has a big population and will be able to bounce back from this pretty quickly. But we've taken a lot of their stuff. And, you know, what are they going to do? So we are going to have to put some foundations in here to make up for that. Let's go ahead and put the queen back in while I'm thinking of it. All right. Let's see what we have. Yeah, there's brood. This is 4 frames of brood just right here. That's good. But we don't want either of these colonies between now and the end of the season to ever feel any nutritional stress at all. There are people online that will tell you that bees will get lazy if you feed them too much. That is the absolute biggest load of hogwash that I've ever heard in beekeeping. Why are bees good at making honey? Because enough's not enough. There's a lot of bees out there. Very few of them produce any type of surplus. Bees were made to make honey, and they're good at it. And that's part of the reason they rob each other, is because they will even go after other colonies just to get a little bit more of that liquid gold. Honestly, they're a little greedy sometimes. Oh my goodness, they can't be greedy. They're not humans. Well, it's probably not greed, it's programming. But they do love that honey, and we do too. I had someone just today ask me if they could take a couple frames of honey from their first year colony. A lot of people poo-poo that and say, no, you can't take any honey from your bees in the first year, give it all to them. And that's okay if you want to do that. I told them to take a couple frames, make sure you feed immediately and get them back up to the weight, because it's a lot of money getting into bees. Bee suits, bee equipment, making splits, buying queens, all this gadgets, watching Kamon's YouTube channel. Just think how much you've invested into this. A little bit of honey for your kids and wife or your husband to justify this crazy hobby of yours might just save your marriage. That advice is worth tens of thousands, maybe more. Laurel, it's a good thing she loves keeping bees too and working with me, because this is a crazy lifestyle, and we appreciate you all watching our videos and going along with us in the journey. So I'm going to feed a little bit of pollen patty. I've been feeding these bees pollen patty, and it's probably a little over the top, but I knew that I was going to make this split, and we still have 2 months of rough season ahead of us, and I want to show you guys how to do it the best way possible as far as I know. And there's people that know a lot of stuff that I don't know, but this works for me, and I know the bees do well with it, and I want you to be successful. I would rather you overdo it a little bit than underdo it, because overdoing it means your bees are going to be a little strong and you have problems like, oh man, I have too much sugar syrup in this colony and now I've got to pull some out and clear some room. That's a lot better than my bees starved to death or didn't make it through the winter. All right. So get off of there. Now, one thing we got to watch out for, and these bees have been just eating through this pollen patty like crazy. No small hive beetle problems. This was put on yesterday, just a little strip before I got into here. They have just chowed down through this patty right here. I think Hilco's out of these patties now. Oh, they only bought like 11 pallets at the expo, so they should have got more. That box has got some serious weight to it. We don't need any sugar syrup feed on this colony for a little while. I'll come back in a week and then we'll see where we're at, and probably got to feed a little bit to get those foundations drawn. And that got a little nasty there. Sorry, bees. It's organic grass. I promise I haven't done anything to it. All right, get these bees down here. You see how all those bees are just like that though? Those bees aren't flying away, all young bees. Whew. I'm gonna give this one a little bit of pollen patty too, and definitely put this feeder on right here. But I don't see any aggressive behavior. I shouldn't probably be messing, but I'm gonna do it anyways because I can. These bees aren't trying to sting this cage. They're trying to get in there, but it's not aggressive behavior. And the goal is just to have a bunch of nurse bees that really want to get this queen out so they can get things going. So we are just going to carefully slide this back in. All right. What do you think? A little bit of smoke. Just throw a little bit of this right in here. And a little bit more. This is just so when that queen comes out, they feel 100% that they don't have to hold anything back. There's a constant flow of pollen sub and sugar syrup, and it's just ideal conditions. That's what we want. We love our bees. All right. Inner cover from Miller Bee Supply. We're going to have this turned up where that little notch is in the front, and now we have just a little bit of upper ventilation there. Take this jar of 1 to 1, make sure it's not over the cage. Our queen cage is a little bit behind it. We don't want that sugar syrup, and we definitely don't want that getting into the cage and then watering down her queen candy and then getting them all nasty in there. I've seen queens die that way. And I'm just going to put this on top just because it'll provide a little bit more shade, but it's got a nice little entrance reducer right here. Once they've accepted the queen, I'll open that up a little bit more, and then we might even put a robbing screen on there. But there you go. So this is a first-year colony, and now we've made a split with it. Hopefully they'll accept the queen just fine. I don't know any of a better way to do this. Just don't get in there early. When you have a new queen like this, she needs to get out of the cage, and she needs to be laying for not just a day or two. She needs to lay for several days. I think at least 5 to 7 days of laying minimum. I prefer 7. And that way her eggs have hatched, and then her new larvae that she's brought to the colony, they emit pheromones and just really seal the deal most of the time on these queens, unless there's just something really weird about that queen. And then we'll just have 2 colonies right here. We'll just baby them up. We'll keep following these 2 colonies with you on this Nuke Follow Along series and see if we can't get them both through winter and make some honey next year. Boy, I am just sweating so much. If sweat was nectar, the bees would never want for anything. Laurel is shaking her head. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.